welcome back to episode 4 of This Is Why I Drink. To the handful of people that might be listening to this, just letting you know we appreciate you. And I've got my good buddy here sitting with me, Shah, again for a third straight episode, and my becoming really good buddy, CJ, here as well, again. And it's been really good, guys. I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything that you've put forth here when it comes to your perspective, your opinions on things. It's great having this level of conversation, especially about a topic that so many people think is way too sensitive to discuss. And we've been really, really consistent, open, and respectful to each other about it. And that's part of the reason I wanted you guys on here, is I wanted to see how we were going to go about it. And it's been great. So welcome back, guys. Let's cheers it up for episode 4 of This Is Why I Drink. Cheers. So we're going to dive right back into the continuation of our talks on racism. And this is the third episode we're doing on it. So I'm ready to hear CJ tell me what was going through his mind at the end of the last episode, because I went after it and I said, if we genuinely as people start really taking down this guise of racism, and if the ghetto stops being the ghetto, we actually start having people wake up and want to genuinely improve their neighborhoods, clean everything up, and it stops being the ghetto, and racism stops being such a divisive tactic in our society, then we really, for lack of a better term, we take a lot away from two major industries in Hollywood and the music business, because what are they going to be able to make movies about? They're not going to be able to make a lot of movies about oppression anymore. Once you've done enough movies about coming out of oppression, then what else is there? Mm-hmm. And what are you going to rap about if the streets aren't the streets, and you can't rap about being hard and, all that kind of stuff? So, and like I said, I saw a little bit of tension in both of your faces, and a lot from CJ in that, because I could tell you were holding back on some stuff. So
just dive right on in.
Yeah, dive in. And I want to know what was going through your mind when I said that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, I totally agree with all that. It's when you talk about not having the ghetto be the ghetto anymore, I think there's a foundation layer to how everything played out, right? Mm-hmm. So I think and this is just my belief, right? So I think there's something higher that has an agenda on everything that for its purpose. Mm-hmm. But I think even if we try to make the ghetto a better place, it's still it's going to take a lot more work than just the people in it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I agree with the whole thing about the racism sells, because it's just, I don't know, the music industry, they don't sign people who's not making music like that. And I think it's up to the people also, and I'm gonna contradict myself, because I listen to this kind of music, mm-hmm. and I buy it and all that kind of stuff, right? So if certain labels don't sign artists if they're not talking about that, and me personally, I don't like any other kind of music. Yeah. But I mean, not the whole killing thing. I like music stuff. I like that stuff too. Just because it gets me in the mood to work out, or whatever the case may be, not to kill somebody, but it gives me the mood to go work out and go.
That's a bad mood to get into. Yeah. Right. That's a really bad mood to get into. Right. Man, this makes me want to just go murder a motherfucker.
And so it just puts me in the mood to work out and get stuff done. And I think another thing too, when you look into like these history books and stuff like that, some people don't know how to. I think it's great to learn about your history, but the way you go about learning it, and the things that the side effects they can have, mm-hmm. of you learning about your history, it can be detrimental to your community too, because a lot of times you get hatred all built up for a specific race, which I know we don't like that. We don't like that word here.
Oh, I didn't say I don't like the word. I don't like.
Well, no, I don't agree with it. Yeah, right. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And I just think you got to be able to learn. I've been learning about my history, and at no point have I had hatred towards anyone. You know, it's just me learning about my history, because I feel like in order for me to know my identity, I got to know where I come from and stuff like that. So I think I agree with you about the whole cell thing. It's I know I'm doing circles. I'm just trying to see the best way to put it.
That's why we're here.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
Well, that goes back to the three things that you said. Can you say those three things again?
Oh, the three character traits?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I firmly believe we will start to change society if we all choose daily to individually operate with humility, self-awareness, and personal accountability without justification.
Exactly. Self-awareness is the biggest thing you just said.
Right. Yeah.
You know? So
I would say that. What if we were to? What do you think the best way would be to stop having the ghetto be the ghetto? What would it be? Some like some actions that we would need to take place. I think you can get it done. Like you said, it's not gonna happen overnight.
Oh hell no.
And I think that's one of the things that I hate the word blacks, but that blacks have a problem with too, is because we get so caught up in Martin Luther King's dream, not realizing that's just not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And if you really want to make that stuff work, and if you really want to praise him, you really want to make his life worth something, then you have to take the necessary steps to make it happen. And it's not going to happen. And I don't think that's just going to happen in my generation.
Yeah, it has to become generational.
Generational, exactly. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen right now.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's probably not happening to my grandkids. But eventually, if like my community here, a lot of times are, we don't have fathers in the household. So that automatically puts us behind on getting the ghetto out of, stop having the ghetto be the ghetto, because we don't have fathers around. And just stuff that implements that, when we get into like Section 8 and stuff, back in the day, you couldn't get government assistance unless you didn't have a father in the house. So it's just like certain stuff plays a role, and there's a foundation, but at some point, like we all agree on, we got to hold ourselves accountable. Exactly. We can't keep blaming the government for this and that. And I don't believe in government assistance. I think I know it's hard to do without it, but I think the more we rely on the government, the less we become independent. And I think the black community is a very dependent community, and I think that hurts us as a whole and as humanity progressing.
I believe that it hurts the mindset of true progression moving forward. That I agree with that. I was trying to, I won't lie, I did not come prepared for the number of or percentage of black households without a father figure in them. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah,
so that's bad on my part to not be prepared for that. I've been trying to look it up right now, and it's funny how when you Google something that seems so simple, they give you all these propaganda posts first about
Yeah, and it's like, and when I look into like history, all this stuff about like even the parent was it Planned Parenthood or whatever? Like a lot of that stuff comes from they got their stuff from eugenics, and I know the whole eugenics thing was that Charles Darwinism dude. He wanted the whole natural selection and survival of the fittest, and certain things were implemented into the world to where certain people were, how can I put it? Were put at a higher,
seen as superior,
seen as like superior, right?
Racism, yeah.
And I just think there's a whole foundation that we gotta knock down, and we can't build a great house on the foundation that it's already on, and we gotta go a whole nother route with it. And so
I agree. The foundation has cracks in it, and you have to report. Just like for a house, if you want to fix anything, you're going to have to dig it up and redo it. You can't sit there and put a Band-Aid over something like that. I completely agree. Shah, did you have anything? Because I saw you had a couple of little twinkles in your eye right there for a minute.
No, I agree 100%.
Or is that just the fact that you've almost... That's impressive. Talking about I don't hardly ever drink beer.
What can I say?
Yeah,
well done. Well done. Dude, I've been pacing just because...
Still the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, gotta be a responsible adult here. So,
well, CJ, what do you have to say about rappers making it out the hood, but still living in the hood.
Still living in the hood.
Oh, he's talking mentally.
I think, yeah. And I think, see, that's tough because I even think that, like, I feel like when people make it out, we feel like excellence cannot live within our community. With excellence can't be in the ghetto, right? We want to go. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that. Oh my dear God, when he said that we believe excellence cannot live within our community.
Yeah, we believe that.
Holy shit!
And that's why we do the things we do.
I've never heard it put better.
Yeah, and I think that's just the reason why we move out and we never go back. We may give money, but we don't go see what that money's going to do, or we don't go check on them, or we don't do none of that stuff. We just we're going to do a charity.
Besides Nip. As we say, bought back his,
Right. So I think, and to bring along Nip, it's just like you do that, and then look what your own people do to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's almost empty.
I got you.
No, I'm good. He's. You sure?
You sure?
Mm-hmm. Dude.
You on the road there? You on? But yeah.
Are you gonna start saying nah? Nah. Shah, what did that mean yesterday when you were doing that? It meant yes.
That's what he told me the next day.
That's funny.
Oh God, this is part of the reason I like hanging out with you guys. You give me so much ammunition. You really do, and I appreciate it. And anyway, to your point about when you're talking about how families rely on assistance. Mm-hmm. Okay, I believe that assistance should be given for a time period, if that makes any kind of sense. Now, when I say that, of course, we're diving into stuff that I don't believe is horrifically complicated to figure out, as much as there are so many people that will get overly emotional about it.
Yeah.
And automatically will just shut out everything that we're saying right now.
Right.
And they'll say, nope, we need it. Nope. You don't even understand. You've never been in my shoes. Well, no, of course I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't been in your shoes. Yeah. And
that's the problem.
Yeah. And I completely understand that I haven't been in your shoes. Now, have I been in a position as an adult where I made a bad business call?
Yes.
Yes. Have I been in a position as an adult where my family, after a certain relationship I won't get into a ton of stuff about, fell apart, and I started making poor personal and business decisions after that personal relationship fell apart and collapsed?
Yeah.
My family, as much as, I know it hurt a few of them to watch it, I had to fall on my face. Mm-hmm. I had to. I mean, there was no other way around it. I was not going to wake up if I didn't have to essentially figure out how to get my head out of my ass, or as you guys hear me say all the time, remove cranium from rectum, and climb out of the gutter. Out of the gutter first and foremost of mental self-pity.
Yeah,
that was the biggest thing. And once I started really building that momentum again within me and the individual that I know I am mentally, physically, spiritually, so on and so forth, and working like I know I'm capable of again, there was a point where I could have easily applied, and based on the income I was currently making because of the business I was in the middle of trying to build, I would have qualified at the beginning.
Right.
Because you're pumping so much more money back into the business, there were times where I couldn't pay myself,
Yeah.
So, because I had to pay employees, I had to pay rent on the office, I had to pay all these things.
Right.
And I never did. I just worked twice as hard. Mm-hmm. I just kept digging in and digging in and digging in. So when you say, what do I think we can do, is that the first thing is to break the mindset that you need it to survive.
Right. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Okay. And again, that is a generational mindset. Now that's something where you're going to have people talk about, man, my family's always lived in these situations. This is just all we know. Mm-hmm. I get that. Sometimes that's all people have ever known. I also believe that there's enough examples that are easily and readily available to look at in society that can show you You may have to work 80, 90 hours a week for a few years to start digging out.
Yeah.
You may have to work 100 hours a week for a few years to dig yourself out. The point is, forget my language, even though I cussed a lot, fucking start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've got to start. And if you don't start, then you're never going to make a dent. You're never going to make a difference. You feeling right there, Sparky? Okay, just checking. And you can't stop. That's the biggest thing. No matter how many times you may trip, skin your shins, roll your ankle in the process, don't ever start thinking anybody else is holding you down and holding you back. And that's where the personal accountability without justification comes into play. That's a hard one. I can see, Shah. I'll let you hear in a second, okay? Process that thought that's going through your mind. Because even with all of the things that I have personally, quote unquote, been through in my life, I still either chose to be involved in those things or allowed myself to get into that situation. So again, choosing to be in that.
Yeah.
And when people say, well, this person's trying to hold me back, or this person's trying to hold me back, okay, well then get the fuck away from that person.
Yeah.
Okay, don't look at them like, man, and have hate and pride, because then you're going to carry that into the next situation.
Yeah.
You can't have hate and pride about it and then carry it into the next one thinking, well, man, if this person holds me back too, because guarantee you're going to create that bullshit again.
Right.
If you walk into it with that preconceived mentality, i.e. that prejudice towards it, then you are 100% going to create the same scenario. It's going to happen. So, yes, get away from those people, situations, whatever, and seek out the right ones while also understanding you are going to have to adapt and evolve yourself to make sure you don't go back into the same shit. So it's a mindset. Mm-hmm. More than anything else, it starts in your brain. That's a very, very long-winded answer. I apologize for that. Does that make sense?
That's great, though.
Well, to me, are we still talking about the ghetto? So to me, it's like...
Shah, you're always talking about the ghetto.
To me, it's like, how do you get away from these people when...
That's all you know?
That and that's all everyone knows, you know? Like, well, if you get away from them, you're isolated.
I think for one, isolation. I think solitude.
Isolation.
Yeah, I think isolation is great. Like, I like being alone and by myself a lot. It's not that I'm not a people person, whatever the case may be, but I just find peace within that. But I think with what you're saying, I think it's okay to be. You got to be strong enough to know when the time is up to be with those people and relieve yourself and then go back into the situation, right? Because I have friends that they're my best friends, whatever the case may be. I love them to death, and I love certain people, but it's like I can't be with them 24/7 because I'm hurting me and I'm hurting them at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes there's certain instances where I'm not good for them, and sometimes they're not good for me. So in that situation, all right, let's remove ourselves. And then when we get in a place where we can, help each other out, then let's get back to it or whatever the case may be. But just knowing when to be with that person and when not to be with that person, and I think it'll both allow you to grow better and show you that you don't need to be with that person 24/7 and vice versa. I think it's funny too because the black community has this one thing to where, like growing up, you're always told support black business, but then you're never told to get into business with another black person because they don't know. They're either never running on time, they never have their shit together, or like whatever the case may be. And it's like we're just so contradicting in ourselves. So that's
you said support black business.
Yeah, we scream support black business,
but yet
we still business. Also say don't go into business with a black person.
I hate, and I will wholeheartedly say the word hate. Mm-hmm. I hate the mentality of saying white business, black business,
I
black
agree.
business. It's a business.
Right.
If you don't run it right, it's not going to grow. Have I been guilty of that? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. If you do run it right, are there still curveballs that'll come up and potentially tank it? Yeah, well, great. At that point, guess what? If you know you did everything right, everything possible, learn to become better from it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at in that regard is I believe that everything when you're talking about the ghetto, stop being the ghetto, because you covered a lot right there, which I appreciate, which we can build on later. It's a mindset. The first thing the first and foremost thing is saying, I don't want to stay here. And instead of thinking it's me against the world, which is, it's very similar. It's a fine line between saying, I know I need to be alone to grow and develop. Like you said, isolate yourself. Mm-hmm. That is a positive way of looking at it, because you're saying, I need to improve me. Mm-hmm. Me against the world. A lot of people try to put that out there and say that that's the same thing. It's not. Me against the world says everybody else is trying to screw me. One is of humility. The other is of pride.
Right.
Now, I'm a firm believer in taking pride in what you do and doing it to the best of your ability. I am also an adamant believer in never being so proud of who you are that you self-destruct.
Yeah.
And the me against the world is a self-destructing mentality as opposed to, I need to isolate myself for a while to grow, become more self-aware, and figure out the best way to go about this.
Yeah.
Two totally different mindsets.
So, Jeremy, let me ask you something.
Shoot.
When you hit rock bottom with your business,
mm-hmm.
who are like 3 people that you surrounded yourself with that helped you get over the top mentally? If anyone.
Nobody. And I can't say I surrounded myself with anybody because I didn't. There was nobody in my inner circle that helped me push through and grow. It was, I went to the internet. I started reading. I started looking at videos. I started listening to other individuals that I had a great deal of respect for from a business perspective, and taking their indirect leadership, because I didn't have them right in front of me, mm-hmm. taking their indirect leadership and their example from their past and applying it to myself, understanding that the biggest thing that I had going for me was perseverance. Okay, I'm a stubborn son of a bitch at times, and that is one of those things where, like I said, whether or not roadblocks come up, mm-hmm. don't stop. Because you may have to change direction. I apologize, Shah.
No, you're good.
You may have to take the off ramp every now and again, and take a detour, just like downtown Dallas construction, because that shit is freaking ridiculous. All right, there's never a warning. It's just cone. And you may have to take a small detour. Never, ever, ever change the destination in your mental GPS.
Because my thing is, I've hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom in 2016. And if my mindset officially changed mm-hmm. about 4 to 6 months ago. It took me about 3 years to mm-hmm. really realize that I can do this thing. And that was a mixture of meeting CJ, that was a mixture of meeting my close friend Tim, mm-hmm. and that was a mixture of me meeting you.
Yeah.
So to me, and I wholeheartedly believe if I didn't meet you guys, mm-hmm. I would still be at rock bottom. So what about for those people that need to surround themselves with somebody that is successful now? Because I was just lucky to, I could have easily not met CJ, I could have easily not met Tim, and I could have easily not said anything to you.
I see where you're coming from.
I think just to pinpoint back off what Jeremy says, I think at the end of the day, you met us, but at some point, it was up to you to put in the work. We couldn't. I was around you and stuff, but I didn't help you get out of that situation. you know,
But even that, like, I know y'all didn't put in the work for me, but it was just the vibes and the critiques and the motivation.
Such a millennial thing to say.
And I feel like in the ghetto, since we're still talking about that, like, that there is no one to motivate those kids. You know, all they know is what they know.
Well, I think there is, but I think what the problem is, a lot of people are followers. So wherever the crowd is, which is 9 times out of 10 the wrong place to be, that's not where you should go. Like you didn't just meet us just to meet us. You put yourself in a place where you were able to meet us, and so at the end of the day, you still put that work in to get to that place.
That's a good point.
So yeah, I mean that's the way I look at it.
That's phenomenal point, and we're getting to the close, man. It's funny how we kind of go
veered
off path. No, it's good stuff though. It's good stuff. We did veer off path of where we were initially going to start, and it definitely took a direction I wasn't expecting. I like it because it's good. And to what you said, and CJ giving you credit for putting in the work. Think about it this way. Thomas Jefferson said, "I am a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it." So one of my favorite things to hear whenever I run into somebody that is successful in their personal endeavors, and they say, "Man, I just, right place, right time. I just got lucky." I love hearing that. And the reason I love hearing that is that speaks volumes to their level of humility as a human being. Because I guarantee if you go back and look, there were sleepless nights. There were 3 to 4 months of 7 days a week working. There was a track record of putting in the time and putting in the work, and then they just got quote unquote lucky. Okay. So that's why whenever I say the humility, self-awareness, and personal accountability without justification, when people constantly say, "But I work so hard all the time," be honest with yourself. Do you really? Or are you simply telling yourself that because you don't want to quote unquote feel bad knowing that you can be doing either more or making better choices, then in turn doing more?
And working hard is not just the literal definition of working hard. Working hard is once you put yourself in those situations, like you said, in good situations, networking and stuff like that. Because if you don't know how to talk to someone, I would have never met you. I would have never met you, and I would have never met Tim.
Exactly.
And that's what I think most people in the ghetto lack, because that's just what they're taught. Like, that he's not one of us type of thing. And you could probably pick it back off that.
I think in the ghetto, the way you look at somebody, it's a straight mean mug.
Yeah.
There's no smiling in the ghetto. You don't smile. Why? Because everybody's looking for. It's funny because
it is funny.
What you're looking for. Everybody's looking for love, but don't give it. So how the hell are you going to find love? If I'm not giving it off, she's not going to find it, right? Because I'm going here mean mugging. You look at me wrong. What's up then? You know what I'm saying? It's just like you get in those situations. Everybody's looking for the same thing, but nobody's giving it, and I think that's the biggest thing.
And you actually posted something on Instagram like a week ago that I really appreciated. You know what I'm talking about? Where you were talking about when you see another black man. When you see another black man, instead of mugging me, smile at me. Let's change the culture.
Oh yeah.
What was it word for word, if you remember?
The black community needs to. I can't remember, but yeah, something about me mugging, and instead of me mugging, just smile. Like, there's nothing wrong with smiling.
Yeah, if you see another black man,
that tough guy persona that you said, that music, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you just don't smile.
Yeah, which of course, Mochismo sells.
Yeah,
it does. It does. 100% it sells on every level. It's funny coming back full circle to when you guys said pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. Like when you said, if you didn't learn how to talk to people, you can not only put in the work, if you don't actually put yourself out there and force yourself outside of your comfort zone, you're never, ever, ever going to grow and develop. Okay. Back when you were talking to me and you said, I'm sure that you've been stereotyped in our first discussion about racism when we first got this going on the second episode, and you said, I'm sure you've been stereotyped, blah, blah, blah. And I have. It's funny because there's a close to where I live. I shouldn't say close, maybe about 15 minutes away from where I live. There's a couple little sports bars that periodically I like to go hang out in. And the very first time I went into one, it was hilarious. Nothing but black people. And I walk in, and it was funny as hell, because I would highly recommend anybody that's listening to this look on YouTube and look up Animal House bar scene. Yeah. And it was like everybody just stopped and looked. You know, it's just me just standing in the door, fucking reflecting light because I'm pale as hell. And it was fun. No, what I'm saying is they were just looking at me like, the hell is this cracker doing here? Yeah. You know, and then I go up to the bar and I sit down, and the bartender comes up to me. She says, "What can I get for you, sweetie?" Mm-hmm. And it was hysterical because the fact that as soon as that happened, she turned around and went to another patron at the bar and was like, "All right, what you want?" Yeah. And I was sitting going, "Oh, she suit and tied it for me." Yeah. You know, she buttoned it up. Right. And it's funny because, you know, after a few minutes of being there, people around me relaxed. We started having good conversations 100%. About sports and everything, and no big deal. Sean knows this, though. That's just me.
Yeah. And to kind of piggyback off that, like the clubs we go to, it's all black people. Yeah. Most of the time. Yeah. And when we walk in, it's, you know, 4 or 5 brown dudes. We got CJ in there, and then we got a white guy like Steve.
Yeah, they probably don't even know I'm black.
Like Steve, you know,
and yeah, he looks pretty Hispanic. So
like my nephew.
So like even that situation when we first started doing this thing like a year and a half ago, you know, when we first walked in, people would look at us funny. Yep. And just like you kind of said, people got comfortable real quick. Yeah. You know, and that's a sign of maturity, I think, because
I agree.
It's a small demographic we're talking about, but if we can take those examples mm-hmm. and make it for the greater cause,
mm-hmm. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, it's just going to be better. It's going to be better for humanity.
CJ said a great thing where it's if you want love, you're going to have to give love.
100%.
Now, giving love doesn't mean giving of yourself in such a position that it puts you at risk. Because I've done that. I've given of myself so much before, whether it be time-wise, financially, and all that I screwed myself. Yeah. Now, I knew I was helping somebody, and then when I looked back at it, I was like, yes, I was helping them, and I was being taken advantage of at the same time. And yes, you have to be able to give love to get love. And I honestly believe that that's what we're doing right here. Yeah. So I think that that's a great point to end this specific episode on is, number 1, humility. Number 2, self-awareness to understand it's a mindset that's holding you back. Number 3, personal accountability without justification. So don't sit there and make excuses for your shortcomings. Admit that you were involved, own your part, and move forward without justifying it. And number 4, treat everybody the way you genuinely want to be treated. Give love to get love. Yeah. So guys, I appreciate you being here again. I'm going to have you back for at least one more. All right. We're going to try to wrap up the racism thing because it's funny. We started off on a really, really big tear talking about it specifically. And I like the direction that we've gone as far as getting away from just talking about that and actually focusing on solutions and giving examples thereof, because you can talk about the problem all day long. If you don't actually start talking about the way to implement a solution and what can start it in the right path, you're just a part of the problem. So folks, go ahead. Sorry, Shah.
Gotta start.
Gotta start. Gotta start and not stop, no matter what. So folks, again, whoever's listening out there, appreciate it. Guys, this is why I drink. Cheers.